Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioseStation.
What's up, LumioseStation, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokémon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. As always, in the last episode last week, we covered Luxray for number 69 in the Pokémon DataDex, and today I asked you guys what Mega Evolution bug type you wanted to see, or if you wanted to see Mega Pinsir or Mega Scizor, and you guys chose Scizor in the end, so that's what I'm going to be covering today, Scizor and Mega Scizor. Now, first up we have the vote for next episode, and I went through basically all the DataDex videos and sort of said, okay, what type haven't I done the most? And it turns out this type was actually the Ice type. So we have two Ice type Pokemon here for you guys to choose from. The first one being a Glaceon and the second one being Avalugg. So do you want to see one of the Evolutions, Glaceon, covered next week? Or do you want to see the massive Glacier Pokemon introduced in Generation 6? We have Glaceon and we have a Glacier. Nice and linked names there. Anyway, that's going to be it. That's the voting, guys. Let me know down below by commenting Glaceon and Avalugg. Let's now get on to the actual video. So Scizor, number 212 in the National Pokédex, and it is the Pinsir Pokemon, being a Bug Steel type. Its size, its dimensions, it stands at 5 foot 11 inches tall, or 1.8 meters tall rather, and weighs 260.1 pounds or 118 kilograms. So it's a pretty big Pokemon, to be honest. It's in the bug egg group for breeding, just simply the bug group, and the male-female split is 50% male, 50% female, so very, very basic there. Evolution chain-wise, as you guys I'm sure will know, it evolves from Scizor when it's trading while holding a metal coat, so yeah, that's that. So, base stat-wise for Scizor, its base stats are pretty darn good. If we look at this, health points are 70, it's not amazing, but, you know, looking at Scizor, you're not going to expect it to be a bulky Pokemon anyway. Its attack is a staggering 130, which is pretty high, for a bug type at least. So 130 in attack, 100 in defense, so that's pretty good as well, considering you also have a steel type, which is a good defensive type. Special attack is 55, so we can sort of figure out we're not going to be, you know, actually using special attacks. Speed, or not special speed rather, special defense is 80, which is pretty high as well. It's not as high as the defense, obviously, but 80 is still pretty high, you know, still good, pretty high. Speed is then 65, so not quite the slowest, not because the lowest stat it has, but speed, I mean, it's not an amazing, you know, not terrible speed, but it's not amazing either, so it's decent though. Ability-wise, for Scizor, there are 3 available, 2 basic and 1 hidden. First basic ability is Swarm, which powers up bug-type moves when the Pokemon is in trouble, i.e. their health has dropped below 30%, so when they're on low health, their bug-type moves do more damage. Is this a good ability? Not really at all, especially for Scizor, because it's not going to be a Pokemon that's going to survive many turns. I mean, I know I said it's got high defense and pretty good special defense, but generally, if you're facing against a certain type, which we'll look at type effectiveness in a minute, you're not going to last long. So being at low health isn't really going to help you, if you guys get the idea. And it only powers up bug type moves. If it was all the moves, maybe yeah, maybe that'd be better. But just bug type moves is not too great an ability compared to the others, at least. The second basic ability is Technician, which powers up the Pokemon's weaker moves, which means moves with 60 power or less do more damage, basically. So it can actually power up some pretty good moves, and obviously we'll look at these moves when we look at the moves later on, and I'll explain more about it then. But Technician is probably its best ability, and its hidden ability is actually Light Metal, which halves the Pokemon's weight. Is this a good ability? It's debatable. In my opinion, it's not at all, because what does it do? It halves your weight. How does that help in battle? Well, it does, you know, some moves are affected by the weight of a Pokemon. These moves are, if I can remember correctly, there's Low Kick, Heavy Slam and Heat Crash. I don't know if there's any more or not, but those are the only 3 I can think of that are affected by weight. Low Kick will do more if you're heavier, and Heavy Slam and Heat Crash will do more if the enemy is lighter and the Pokemon using it is heavy, basically. So by lowering your weight, all you're doing is making sure that you are going to take less damage from Low Kick, and you're not a heavy Pokemon anyway, really, and you don't resist, actually, you don't resist Low Kick, you take neutral from it, but it's not really a threatening move for you. It's not like you're really heavy. So if you use Light Metal, you've halved your weight, so Heavy Slam and Heat Crash are going to do more power. They're going to do, I wouldn't say double the power, double the damage, but they're going to do more. So Light Metal is really not a good ability at all for Scizor, not Scizor, that's not how you say the name, it's Scizor. But yeah, Light Metal is really not good at all. We're going to focus mainly on Technician here. You could run Swarm if you're not using any low power moves, but generally Technician is the way to go. So it's typing. Bug Steel is a good typing. In my opinion, it's a brilliant typing, okay? It resists 8 types here, which are normal, grass, bug, psychic, ice, dragon, steel, and fairy. A hefty amount of types. It is weak to 1 type, which is fire. It is weak 4 times to it, because obviously bug and steel. So if you're facing against the fire type, it's not great for Scizor, really. But, you know, 1 weakness out of 16. You're immune to 1 move as well, 1 type as well, poison, so you take less damage, or less or no damage from 9 out of 16 types, which is pretty darn good. And obviously you take neutral from all the rest. So in general, you know, there's not much to say here. Scizor has a brilliant type, at least from my opinion. So, what moves can you use on Scizor, what's Scizor good with, and etc, like everything like that. So, first move it can learn, which is Pursuit at level 9. Well, it's not the first it can learn, the first viable one it learns is Pursuit at level 9. Basically what it does is it's Dark type, it deals damage. If the opponent is gonna, if they've decided to switch out on this turn, you can Pursuit and you can do double damage basically. So say you have a Scizor and you're switching in on some sort of Psychic type Pokemon. You switch in and the enemy might say, oh my god, it's a Scizor, it's got bug type moves, I'm weak to that, I want to get the hell out of here and switch into someone that can take it better. You can be cheeky if you can predict this sort of move. You can say, right, I'm going to Pursuit, they're going to get a switch out, I'm going to get the Pursuit in before that, however, and do double damage and maybe take them out, or at least do a hefty chunks of them. So Pursuit is a very good move, basically, on Scizor, especially because the fact that it has a low power in the first place, if I remember correctly, which means that it gets the bonus damage from Technician. Let me see, its base power is 40, yeah, so it gets a boost from Technician there, and does more damage as well there, so it's really a really good move on Scizor there. Then at level 57 rather, going really high up the chain, or TM75, we have Sword Stance, which is going to raise your attack by 2 stages. You're a physical attacker, so Sword Stance isn't bad at all. And because we have pretty good physical defense and not too bad special defense, we actually can probably set 1 or 2 of these up without, unless of course there's a fire type move on the enemy Pokemon, you can set a couple of these up without too much of a worry. Or you can switch in, as I said, on a psychic type or something like that, something that's going to be threatened by you, switch in, Sword Dance while they switch out, and then do damage to whatever comes in, or indeed if you feel like it, switch back out yourself to conserve your Pokemon. Then we have TM06 Toxic, which is going to badly poison the enemy. Being a half decent defensive Pokemon, I'm saying too many words here. A half decent Pokemon defensive wise, you can Toxic the opponent without any sort of fear of being killed in 1 turn. You know, you could Toxic, and then obviously if you got killed, that'd be a waste of a Scizor. But Scizor can take a couple moves, so you can Toxic, and then you can switch out maybe with a U-turn, which we'll look at later, of course, or some other move there. You know, Toxic is viable. Then we have TM19 Roost, being some sort of flying Pokemon. It can learn Roost for your TM, and this is your main or your only really method of health and restoration. Not that you're not a seriously bulky Pokemon, so you don't really want to be running leftovers on a Scizor particularly. But Roost is a viable move to run if you're going for defensive. You can use it every now and again just to give you that extra boost and keep you alive for a bit longer, basically. So Roost is viable. Then we have TM89 U-turn. As I mentioned just now, U-turn is very sort of in and out. If you go a Sword Stance and then they switch in onto something that's got a fire type move, or you think it's got a fire type move, you can U-turn, hopefully be faster, and then you're obviously going to get the boost from the +2 Sword Stance, +2 attack from the Sword Stance, and then switch out, and as long as you're faster than them, you're not going to get hit by their move, and you do damage to them anyway. So U-turn is very viable, and especially in cases where you switch in, they also switch, and then it's like, nope, I want to go. So rather than just switching your Pokemon out, you can U-turn and do some damage at the same time. We have 1 egg move here, which is Defog, which is a move that removes all hazards from the field, which is actually a very, very useful move. It's like Rapid Spin, but it's Defog. And basically it's a pretty good move. This can only be learnt egg move in Generation 6. I think you can't learn it in Generation 5, so just something to point out there. But Defog's brilliant, especially again if you're going for a defensive Scizor. Defog is going to allow you to sort of, you'll be able to, go in, Defog, switch out, and then it's not you have to sacrifice your Pokemon just to use Defog. You can go in, Defog, take a bit of damage maybe, and then switch out again and, come back in whenever you need it. And keep it around if you're going defensive wise, which is why Roost might be helpful there, because you can Roost and then Defog, and you can keep it around rather than just sort of being a one-trick pony, getting rid of the hazards once, because they could always set them up again. 1 move learned via Heart Scale here, which is Bullet Punch, and this is probably Scizor's main attacking move from my opinion. Bullet Punch is going to be prioritized over any, well, not any other move, but most other moves. It's going to give you +1 priority. And since your speed isn't too fast anyway, since you're not too fast as Pokemon, Bullet Punch is very useful because you can switch in, get a Swords Dance off, and then Bullet Punch straight away the next turn, because then, you know, obviously you get your +2 attack and you're going to go first, unless of course they have priority, but you guys get the idea. So Bullet Punch is very viable. You definitely want to think about running this on basically any size or set, especially since you get Stab on it as well. Then we have 3 tutor moves to finish us off here. The first one is Bug Bites, which is another bug type move. It does decent damage. I believe it gets a Technician boost because I think it's only got 60 power. But I shall just check now. But what Bug Bite also does is it eats up the enemy Pokemon's berry if they've got one. Yeah, power 60, so it gets Technician's boost. So yeah, it eats up their berry if they've got one, which could be useful for Citrus Berry users like Azumarill or something that's got Harvest and a Citrus Berry. Especially, you know, just Bug Bite them, eat the berry up, and then they're not going to have the bonus basically. And I believe if you eat the berry via a Bug Bite, it stops them from harvesting it again, possibly. I think I'm right in thinking that. I'm not too sure though. But Bug Bite is a good move anyway, just for doing decent damage anyway. I said anyway twice, but ignore that. Then the next move we have for Tutor is Knock Off, getting a boost in Generation 6. I think it still gets the Technician boost though, because I think it's up to 60 power now if I can remember correctly, but Knock Off is going to knock off the opponent's item as well, so it's, yeah, no, it's 65 power, so it doesn't actually get Technician's boost anymore, which is a shame. But it can still do some decent damage, and of course be used to knock off any opponent's items, and do some reasonable damage at the same time. But Pursuit is generally better because obviously priority and stuff, but Knock Off again is viable because knocking off items is always good. Then the final move here we have here is not TM, it's a tutor move again. It's Superpower, which is going to do a lot of damage to fighting type, but it's going to lower your attack and your defense otherwise, so you want to be a bit more cautious using this move. If you've Swords Danced, feel free to use a Superpower, because obviously you're then going to lower yourself down to +1 attack and -1 defense. But, you know, whereas if you haven't used Swords Dance, you're just going to start, you know, doing less and less damage all the time. So Superpower is definitely not something to spam, but used in the right situation where you're confident you can at least do damage or take out the enemy Pokemon pretty well. It's basically like that. But those are all the highlighted moves, the viable moves for Scizor. Now, before we take a look at the sets, we must look at its Mega Evolution. So Mega Scizor, it keeps the Bug Steel type, doesn't sort of change anything there. Design stays pretty similar as well. Looking at the height, it's now gone up to 6 foot 7 inches or 2 meters tall, so it's a pretty tall Pokemon now, and it weighs 275.6 pounds or 125 kilograms, so it's gone a bit heavier too. In terms of the Mega Stone, in X and Y, it is found in the Frost Cavern behind a Bomber Snow once you have your upgraded Mega Ring, and it's between 8 PM and 9 PM. And in Oras, it's found in Petalbug Forest on the ground after you defeated Groudon or Kyogre, depending on your version. As I mentioned just now, there's not too much of a change when Scizor Mega Evolves, just sort of gets some nastier looking pincers and just a cooler looking body in general. So, that's not what we're looking at though, we're looking at the base stats now. So, what happens when you get a Mega Pinsir? Well, health points stay the same, as they always do for Mega Evolutions. Attack gets a boost of 20 up to 150, so this gets even higher. You can do even more damage. Defense gets a boost of 40 up to 140. This defense stat is pretty darn high. You're going to be able to do decent damage and take defensive hits pretty well as well. Special attack actually gets a boost of 10 up to 65. This isn't needed at all, because we're not going to use it, but okay, we'll deal with it. That don't really matter to us though. Special defense gets the boost of 20 up to 100, so this is pretty high as well. So you're going to be able to take some pretty, you know, fairly hard hitting special defensive or special attacking moves as well. Just because, why not? And speed gets a boost of 10 up to 75, so it's just a little boost. But since we have Bullet Punch, we don't really care about speed too much, because you can always Bullet Punch if in doubt. Mega Scizor's ability is Technician, which is one of its normal abilities anyway, so it sort of carries us across and makes use of it there because it's the best ability it has. It does wonders on Scizor and obviously Mega Scizor as well, so that is pretty darn good. That's Mega Scizor there. Let's take a look at the sets. We have 4 here. 2 are going to be sort of basic, sort of, I guess, you know, 2 just normal Scizor sets, and then 2 are going to be Mega Scizor sets. So let's get going here. Okay, so this first set is going to be a basic sort of Scizor attacking set, okay? Swords Dance, Bullet Punch, Superpower, and Bug Bite. Those are our 4 moves there. Ability is going to be Technician, as with all these sets actually, because as we discussed earlier, it's pretty much the best ability, you know. Nature is Adamant or Jolly, depends whether you want a bit more speed or whether you want to go Adamant and just sort of focus on the bullet punches there. Held item is a Life Orb, so this set is all about just doing damage and getting all the damage off as possible, especially, you know, the Life Orb is going to kill you eventually, and we're not running Roost here, so we're just focusing on the Life Orb. EV wise, again, sort of just going on power, maximum attack, maximum speed, the rest in health points to be as fast and as hard hitting as possible. Obviously we need some speed so we can get some superpowers and bug bites off, but you know, you don't have to rely on it because we have Bullet Punch. So the idea with this would be switch in, hopefully, you know, try and force a switch on them, so switch in on a Psychic type or a Dark type, or something that's going to make the enemy go, whoa, this Scizor is actually going to just take me out if I stay in, so I better switch out. They'll switch out, you can Swords Dance while they switch out, then depending on what they switch in, you can either go for a Bullet Punch, you know, just do as much damage as you can, especially if it's a fast Pokemon, like if they switch in a Greninja. I'm not sure if a Bullet Punch, Swords Dance, Mega Scizor, or not Mega Scizor, but a normal Scizor. I'm not sure if a, you know, Bullet Punch Swords Danced Scizor would actually take out Greninja in one hit, but it's still going to do decent damage to it, so Bullet Punch is a good one to go there. Then again, Greninja's not really got much to into you anyway, but that's apart from the point. Or if you think you're faster and the move's going to do more damage, obviously go for Superpower or Bug Bite. Alternatively, if you know you're slower, then you can still go for a Superpower or Bug Bite if it's going to do more damage, because we are pretty defensive, and even though we haven't got this 140 defense in Mega Scizor, we've still got 100, which is still pretty good. But yeah, apart from that, don't know, that's pretty much how you use that set, you know, just go in and deal damage. If you're in a tricky spot like you're against the Charizard, you might want to switch out there, because you've got nothing for that thing at all. Bullet Punch is resisted, Superpower resisted, Bug Bite resisted 4 times, so, you know, just don't try, just switch out, you know, there's no harm in running away with your tail between your legs to save a Pokemon for later on, basically. So, let's look at the second normal Scizor set. This one is a Choice Band set. Moveset here we have Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Superpower, and then either Pursuit or Knockoff. Ability is a Technician again. Nature Adamant this time. Held item a Choice Band, and the EVs this time are going maximum health points, maximum attack, and the rest in special defense. So, moveset Bullet Punch is your priority here. Because it's Choice Banded, you could switch in and then just Choice Band, Bullet Punch, Choice Band, Bullet Punch, etc. and just do damage like that. If you switch in and maybe they've just switched out at the same time as well, or their Pokemon has died from poison or something, and they've switched in something you don't exactly want to see, you can Choice Band U-Turn out and switch into another Pokemon like so. You don't really want to go for Choice Band Superpower. Obviously, with the boost on from the Choice Band, your Superpower is going to do more damage than it would anyway. But it's still not a good idea to spam it. I just knocked my pop filter over. Ignore that. Still not a good idea to sort of, you know, spam it. So you might want to think about using it once or twice just to finish the Pokemon off and then switching out. Obviously, you can't U-turn because you're banded, so you'd have to switch out properly. Then finally, Pursuit or Knockoff. Depends how you want to play it. Pursuit is very good, as mentioned earlier, just for switching in, pursuiting and killing a Pokemon in one hit. Knockoff is good for switching in and getting rid of some items if you want to just spam that through and do damage. We have got an Adamant nature rather than a Jolly here because we're not too bothered about speed. At this point we're just going for full out damage. We have speed in the form of Bullet Punch if we want it, or Pursuit if we want to try and, you know, go for priority that way. So it's not too much of a worry for us, because if we do need a priority move, we can just, you know, when you first switch in, you can use Bullet Punch, and you're not going to be stuck in battle for too long with this thing anyway. You sort of want to be a bit flexible with it, switch out to save its life, basically. And the same with the EVs, really. Maximum health points just to give us some more bulk, and the maximum attack just sort of give us even more damage rather than speed, because as I mentioned, we don't really care about speed. Rest in special defense just simply to boost up our special defense, because our special defense isn't as high as our physical defense. But in terms of this moveset, sets in general, go in, use some moves, and then switch out when you need to, basically. That's how you use any Choice Band set, or any Choice set in general. Go in, do it, and yeah, that's it. So that's it for the basic Scizor sets. Let's take a look at 2 Mega Scizor sets now. The first one is sort of a defensive, I guess, support one almost, and the second one is sort of a defensive attacking one, I guess you could say. So the moveset for the first one is Defog, Roost, Bullet Punch, and Superpower. Ability is Technician. Nature is an Impish one. Held item is a Scizorite, and the EVs were putting maximum health points, 56 in defense, and then 200 in special defense. So what's this all about? Well, Defog is, as I mentioned earlier, the way to get rid of the hazards, basically, which is your support section here, hence why you sort of want to be a bit more defensive here, and not die instantly. So that's sort of why we have Roost and Defog there. You can Defog, Roost if you need the health points again, and then sort of switch out and come back in later on. And then Bullet Punch and Superpower are sort of your two main attacking moves. You could switch out Superpower for U-turn possibly, or indeed Bug Bites, whichever one works really for you. But Bullet Punch is your main attacking move, I guess, generally. Technician is the ability because that's the best ability we have, obviously. Impish Nature is going to increase our physical defense and lower special attack, so we're going to be as bulky as possible, basically. And how I think Scizor right for Mega Scizor, just to give us that 140 base defense, so it's nice and bulky, and also 100 special defense too, it's not too bad. EV-wise, maximum health points just to give all the bulk, the all-around bulk. 56 in defense because it's the higher already, so we don't really need to put as much in it. Whereas we're putting 200 in special defense sort of to bring it up to par, basically, so we can have sort of general high defenses rather than sort of like a really high physical defense and then really low special defense, just to form a weakness for us. And you got to remember, our only weakness is fire, and that is generally a special move. So we do want to have some bulk in special defense just to allow us to survive, hopefully, at least one or two moves. But how would you use this moveset, or this set in general, this Scizor? You sort of want to hold back a bit. It's sort of a late game Scizor. If they've set up hazards straight away, first up try and take out the hazards Pokemon, as is always the case. If you can't do that, you can switch in, defog, get rid of the hazards, and then that might force them to switch back in and put the hazards up, and then you can get them in a position where you can take them out because you have the advantage, I guess, in some senses there. But you know, it's obviously dependent on the situation, as is every battle basically. But yeah, you sort of switch in, you go for your defog, maybe go for an attack or two, and then switch out. Or use Roost if you need some more health points. To stop you don't want to go just switch. You don't want to switch in your size, or use Defog and then Bullet Punch Superpower just till you're dead, because then you're just gonna. That's it. You've lost your size, or you've lost your Defog. If they've got their hazarder still, they can just switch back in, more Stealth Rocks, more Spikes, whatever else, and yeah, that's that. But that's basically it. Sort of switch in, do some stuff, switch out, and then try and stay alive is the general rule. I mean, that's the general rule anyway, but you guys get the idea there. So the last set is another Mega Scizor set. This is sort of more of an attacking set, I guess, but also with some defensive side. So, moveset here is Sword Stance, Roost, Bullet Punch, Knockoff, or U-turn, or Superpower. Ability is Technician once more. I mean, it's going to change to Technician when we get Mega Scizor anyway, so. And then Nature is an Impish one again. Held item here is a Scizor, obviously, and the EVs are 248 in health points, 44 in attack, 16 in defense, and 200 in special defense. Okay, so moves, Sword Stance and Roost. Combined, you can Sword Stance, take a bit of damage, Roost it back up again, and then you're on 4 health points, and you've got +2 attack. Again, if you force a switch, so you go in, you force them to switch out, you can Sword Stance and Mega Evolve on that turn, then you get your bonuses for the next turn, and you have 4 health points with this, and if they take you down, you can Roost it up, especially if they can't do any damage to you because you're high defense. And this goes hand in hand with the Impish Nature, and also the mix of IVs in health points, defense, and special defense. We put a bit in attack here just so we can do a bit more damage and take out some certain Pokemon with a Sword Stance, Bullet Punch, and Sword Stance, whatever else. But you could also take the attack out and put it in defense again as well, just to make it even more bulky, basically. But yeah, Sword Stance and Roost go hand in hand there. You want a Sword Stance and then Bullet Punch. In terms of the choice for Knockoff, U-turn, and Superpower, I'd probably prefer Knockoff or U-turn. Superpower, obviously, because of the attack drop and the defense drop as well, it's going to make you weaker, even though it does a lot of damage. U-turn is going to serve as like, it's going to do damage to dark types. Bullet Punch has already got rock types covered. What other types does Superpower cover? Ice types, are they really much of a threat to a Scizor? No, you resist the move, so you guys get the idea there. I'd go for Knockoff or U-turn. Of course, you could also put Pursuit here if you wanted to sort of catch them off guard, or even Bug Bites if you didn't want to have U-turn. But U-turn allows you, if you wanted to have it, the flexibility to just U-turn out as well. If you go for your Roost, you can U-turn out and then not take damage, basically. But everything goes hand in hand there. Impish Nature to increase our physical defense. EVs, a mix of EVs just to increase our defenses overall, make you nice and bulky so you can set up a Sword Stance or two without dying, hopefully, Roost up the damage you've taken, and then just sweep the team, hopefully, with a Bullet Punch or a Knockoff. Of course, you could change the nature around, have an Adamant Nature or a Drawing Nature, and sort of focus less on defensiveness, so you can just go in, force a switch, one Sword Stance, and then go through like that, rather than thinking about Roosting. But you can sort of mess around the set and try that out there. But, I mean, apart from that, there's not really much to say for that set. It's just a case of, most sets, most Pokemon competitive battling anyway, it's just about practice. So, get out there and go and practice your Scizors, guys. So guys, that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Pokemon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. As I mentioned at the start, be sure to vote down below for your Pokemon for next week, either Glaceon or Avalugg. Let me know which one you want to see down below in the comment section. The one with most votes is going to be covered next week. But for now, I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.